Get ready for some seriously entertaining stories from Kate Breton.
Oh, yeah.
We've got excerpts from a book called The Great Hockey Game.
Okay.
It features tales of Little D and JD,
Uh-huh.
two guys who always seem to find themselves in the middle of some wild situations.
Right.
As someone familiar with Kate Breton,
Yeah.
you'll appreciate the unique blend of small-town shenanigans and humor these stories offer.
Absolutely.
It's like a window into a world
Yeah.
where the ordinary and the absurd collide,
Yeah.
creating a cast of characters you won't soon forget.
It's true.
And what's interesting is how these stories,
Yeah.
while hilarious, also offer a glimpse into the resilience and spirit of a community shaped by its mining heritage.
Exactly.
The book is a collection of 3 interconnected stories,
Yep.
each more outlandish than the last.
Oh, wow.
First up is The Great Hockey Game,
Okay.
which introduces us to the Glass Bay Booze Hounds,
All right.
a team that's,
Yeah.
shall we say, a little rough around the edges.
Yeah. They're definitely not your typical hockey heroes.
Right.
Think more along the lines of a group of guys who enjoy a good time.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too much.
Uh-huh.
And whose athletic prowess peaked in high school?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And their opponents?
Yes.
The St. Kinsella Bashers?
Okay.
They're practically professionals.
No, wow.
Undefeated for 2 years straight.
Really?
I can already sense a David and Goliath situation brewing here.
Except in this version,
Yeah.
David might be armed with more than just a slingshot.
Uh-huh.
It's clear from the start that JD,
Yeah.
one of the booze hounds,
Right.
is a master of unconventional tactics,
Oh, yeah.
always willing to push the boundaries to secure a win.
And that's exactly what happens when their goalie gets injured early in the game.
Oh,
They're desperate for a replacement.
yeah.
And that's when JD has his aha moments.
Okay.
Enter Big Ed.
All right.
All 500 pounds of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't call putting Big Ed in the net a stroke of genius, but it certainly speaks to JD's ability to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Or maybe in this case,
Yeah.
inside the net.
Huh.
Big Ed might not be agile,
Right.
but he's a formidable obstacle simply by virtue of his size.
And JD,
Yes.
never one to settle for the obvious,
Yeah.
takes it a step further.
Oh, really?
During a power outage,
Huh.
he manages to sneak a bus windshield behind the unconscious Big Ed for added protection.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got to admire his dedication, right?
Well, dedication might be one word for it.
Okay.
It definitely raises the question of how far is too far when it comes to winning.
Right.
Is this brilliant strategy?
Yep.
Or just plain cheating?
What do you think?
It's a fine line, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you have to remember the context.
Right.
This isn't the Stanley Cup Finals.
Exactly.
It's a small town tournament.
Yeah.
And for the Booze Hounds, it's more about the camaraderie and the bragging rights than anything else.
That's a good point.
It's easy to judge from the outside.
Right.
But these stories are best appreciated within the unique social fabric of Glass Bay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got a human wall in the net
Uh-huh.
and a makeshift bulletproof barrier.
Right.
The Bashers,
Yeah.
understandably, are not happy.
Of course.
The second period ends scoreless,
Okay.
and tensions are running high.
And that's when JD,
Yeah.
ever the strategist,
Mhm.
deploys his secret weapon,
What's that?
laxative spiked Gatorade.
No, that's just devious.
I know.
I can only imagine the chaos that ensued.
Picture this.
Yeah.
A team of tough-as-nails hockey players suddenly grappling with, shall we say,
Yeah.
digestive distress.
Uh-huh.
Their game plan literally falls apart.
And in this moment of weakness,
Yeah.
Tiny, another booze hound,
Okay.
manages to score the winning goal.
Wow.
It's a victory nobody saw coming.
Except maybe JD.
Right.
But of course,
Well-
a win like this can't go unchallenged.
Oh.
The game ends in a riot.
Oh, no.
Players and fans brawling, a fittingly chaotic end to a match that was anything but conventional.
So the booze hounds win,
Mm-hmm.
but at what cost?
Right.
The arena is damaged.
Uh-oh.
There are arrests,
Yeah.
and I can only imagine the legal fallout.
It seems like a victory that might end up costing them more than it's worth.
It does.
And yet,
Okay.
there's something almost triumphant about it.
Yeah.
They faced a seemingly unbeatable opponent and won,
Right.
albeit through questionable means.
Yeah.
It speaks to the underdog spirit that runs deep in these stories.
Yeah. You might be wondering how these guys top a chaotic hockey game.
I am.
Well, get ready for the Great Moose Hunt,
Okay.
where their entrepreneurial spirit leads them on a wild goose chase. Or should I say
Yeah.
moose chase?
Ha ha ha.
From a chaotic hockey game to an even more chaotic moose hunt,
Oh, yeah.
it's safe to say Little D and JD don't shy away from a challenge.
That's for sure.
This time, it's the allure of profit that drives them.
Okay.
The idea of turning a wild animal into cold, hard cash?
Right.
JD overhears a story about the potential profits from a moose carcass,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately his entrepreneurial gears start turning.
Makes sense.
But there's a slight problem.
What's that?
They don't know the first thing about hunting.
Uh-huh.
And that's where the genius, or perhaps the absurdity
Right.
of JD's plan comes in.
Okay.
He decides they'll disguise themselves as indigenous hunters
Oh, wow.
using shoe polish and seagull feathers.
Seagull feathers. Okay,
Yeah.
now that's a detail I did not see coming.
I know, right?
What was the logic behind that, I wonder?
Well, as JB sees it,
Yes.
indigenous people have the right to hunt without needing licenses.
Uh-huh.
It's a flawed understanding of a complex issue.
Right.
But in JD's mind, it's a loophole just waiting to be exploited.
So we've got two guys with zero hunting experience,
Oh.
dressed up in what I can only imagine are some pretty unconvincing disguises, heading into the woods.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Just about everything.
I bet their attempts at camouflage are laughable. Their
Yeah.
hunting skills are non-existent.
Right.
And they end up creating more mayhem than anything else.
Of course.
They fall into mud pits,
Oh, no.
get chased by the very moose they're trying to hunt.
Wow.
It's a classic comedy of errors.
But amidst all the chaos,
Yeah.
there's a moment that stands out as pure slapstick brilliance.
What happened?
Picture this JD with his pants down.
What?
Don't ask me why.
Oh my God.
Accidentally shoots the moose.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
Wow.
It's a scene that perfectly encapsulates the absurdity of their entire endeavor.
And believing they've finally achieved their goal,
Yeah.
they haul the dead moose back to town,
Okay.
ready to claim their prize.
Right.
But of course, this is a story by Little D and JD.
Right.
So nothing is ever that simple.
They decide to take the moose to a Halloween costume party.
A costume party.
As you do.
Oh, wow.
Thinking it'll be the ultimate showstopper.
Okay.
But upon arrival,
Yeah.
it's revealed that their moose is actually Big Ed and Bruce McGaskill in a costume.
Talk about a twist.
Right.
Now you've got two moose,
Uh-huh.
one real and very much alive,
Yeah.
and one a very confused pair of wannabe hunters.
What follows is pure pandemonium.
I bet.
So the real moose escapes,
Oh, no.
causing chaos at the party.
And to make matters worse,
Yeah.
Turnip,
Okay.
the owner of the garden the moose was originally feasting on, shows up with a shotgun.
Seriously?
It's like they have a knack for turning disaster into,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
if not success,
Right.
then at least a good story.
We've had a wild hockey game, a disastrous moose hunt.
Yeah.
And just when you think it can't get any crazier,
Right.
we dive into the fine wine riots,
Oh, wow.
where a flea market finds mistaken identities and a chaotic art exhibition collide.
Mm.
From hockey brawls and runaway moose, we now find ourselves in the world of fine art,
Fine art.
or at least what passes for fine art in Glace Bay.
Right.
This is the story of the fine wine riots.
Okay.
And trust me, it's just as wild as it sounds.
And it all starts with a simple flea market.
Okay?
JD buys a painting called Fine Wine for a steal,
Yeah.
completely unaware of its potential value.
It's like those stories you hear about people finding priceless treasures in their attics or at garage sales.
Exactly.
Except in this case, the treasure ends up being a source of more trouble than it's worth.
Well, that's the thing about value.
Right.
It's often relative.
Yeah.
What JD sees as junk, someone else might see as a masterpiece.
Makes sense.
And that's precisely what happens when Big Ed, in a moment of uncharacteristic generosity,
Mm-hmm.
mistakes the painting for a gift and gives it to Brian Bastille, who's moving away.
Brian Bastille,
Yeah,
the aspiring singer-dancer and all-around dreamer.
that's it.
I can only imagine his reaction to receiving a random painting.
Surprisingly, Brian sees potential in the gift.
Really?
He does some research and discovers that the painting might actually be a lost Van Gogh.
A lost Van Gogh.
And suddenly, what was once a simple flea market find
Yeah.
becomes a potential gold mine.
So Brian Ever, the opportunist,
Right.
teams up with Fugel McDougal,
Uh-huh.
and they decide to host a public showing of the painting,
Okay.
hoping to attract art collectors and maybe even make a fortune.
But there's one small problem they haven't considered.
What's that?
JD finds out about the painting's true value,
Oh,
and he wants it back.
Of course he does.
I can already picture the wheels turning in his head.
Right.
Scheming and plotting to reclaim his lost treasure.
And that's exactly what happens.
JD launches into a series of increasingly elaborate schemes to steal the painting back,
Okay.
involving disguises, distractions, and more than a little bit of luck.
Or rather, lack thereof.
Yeah. Knowing JD, these schemes are probably more likely to land him in jail than get him the painting back.
Right?
Well, that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
Every attempt is thwarted not by some brilliant counter-strategy,
Yeah.
but by a combination of bad luck and the sheer incompetence of the security team.
And who is the security team?
Which happens to be Big Ed, Tiny, and Hoop.
Oh, ow.
It's like watching a slapstick comedy unfold in an art gallery.
I can just imagine the chaos.
Yeah.
What are some of the highlights of JD's failed attempts?
He tries to sneak in through a bathroom window only to find it locked.
Oh,
He tries to create a diversion with a fake moonshine delivery,
okay.
but ends up fending off Tiny's unwanted advances.
So the grand unveiling arrives.
Yes.
And everyone is anticipating a glimpse of the lost masterpiece.
Right?
What happens next?
Let's just say the reveal is a little less Van Gogh
Uh-huh.
and a little more Dominoes.
What do you mean?
Instead of a priceless painting, the crowd is greeted with a pizza box filled with crusts.
A pizza box.
You're kidding, right?
How does a pizza box even enter the picture?
The details are a bit hazy, but somehow the real painting gets switched with a pizza box.
And what's the crowd's reaction?
The crowd, understandably, is not amused.
Um,
All hell breaks loose, and the
oh.
gallery descends into chaos.
Oh, wow.
With frugal McDougal even assaulting Brian with a shillelagh.
Seriously?
And amidst all this pandemonium,
Yeah.
where's JD?
Ever the opportunist, he sees his chance.
While everyone is distracted, he makes off with Big Ed's garbage. And guess what he finds at the bottom of the bag?
Don't tell me the
Yeah.
real painting.
Bingo!
It's a twist worthy of a Hollywood ending.
But even this victory comes with a caveat.
What's that?
The painting turns out to be a forgery worth a fraction of what they thought it was.
So in the end,
Yeah.
all this chaos, all this scheming,
Right.
all for a fake painting.
It's almost poetic in a way.
It certainly underscores a recurring theme in these stories.
What's that?
The pursuit of something valuable,
Right.
only to discover that the real treasure was the journey itself.
Or perhaps the absurdity of it all.
Well, after a deep dive into the world of Little D and JD, I think it's safe to say that life in Glass Bay is anything but boring. From a chaotic hockey game to a disastrous moose hunt and a riotous art exhibition.
It's been quite a ride.
These stories remind us that sometimes the most memorable adventures are the ones we least expect.
That's for sure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.